I got a good one this evening. I'm excited about this. Maybe you guys a minute to get joined in here while I check over my notes one last time. Um, so I'll tell you where this inspiration came from this week. The title of this week's show, or the question posed we're going to discuss, is Are we our own worst enemy? Right. And I saw an article posted from Outdoor Life, so take it for what it is, a grain of salt. um, Specifically talking about the bear hunt here in Florida, where it's saying anti hunters drew at least 23% of Florida's black bear tags, according to one local activist. Now, so you take it for a grain of salt, whatever he says, but it's possible. This guy claims, see, where's his name? It's in the article here. Steve Rosen, one Florida activist, Steve Rosen told the Orlando Sentinel Thursday that to his knowledge, at least 39 of the 172 available lottery permits, around 23% total, went to anti-hunters. He also claims to have spent roughly $200,000 of his own money. I highly doubt that it was his own money. I'm sure he spent plenty of donation money. I don't know. I'm just, at $5 a pop, so this translates to roughly 40,000 lottery tickets, or close to a quarter of the overall submissions, would have been to this one guy. Well, at least money that he spent, even if it wasn't only him that spent it. Yeah, that's crazy. There were 163,459 applications submitted in total, according to the final figures released by FWC after the lottery ended on September 22nd. And I think it's easy to sit here and point at the anti-hunters as being the big problem with what would be the downfall of hunting. But I'm not 100% sure. So we'll get into that. But before we do, this week's episode is brought to you by Deep Roots Rifle Company, elevated excellence rooted in integrity and reliability. Use the link in the description to get on over to their website and order just about everything you'll need to get into the woods this fall, from a fully custom rifle built in-house to flashlights to help you find your way in the dark. And be sure to tell them that UPO sent you. So, lately it feels like the biggest fights in hunting aren't in the woods. They're happening online, on social media, on YouTube, like you see, like you're watching me here. It just kind of feels weird to sit here and talk to you about this on social media because we're talking about social media. You got bow hunters tearing down rifle guys, public land hunters taking shots at private land guys. And the sad part is, while we're busy arguing with each other, the folks who actually want to end hunting altogether, they're just sitting back and watching us do the work for them. Hunting used to be a brotherhood built on respect, mentorship, and putting meat in the freezer. But somewhere along the line, it turned into a contest of who's more authentic, who's more ethical, who's doing it the right way. So tonight, we asked the hard question, one that might sting a little bit. Are we our own worst enemy? Because the truth is, the more divided we get, the weaker we become. So let's dig into that. So it's crazy when you think about how many camps exist in hunting now, right? You've got gear wars. If you're not hunting or running a saddle setup, someone tells you you're doing it wrong. You've got weapon wars, crossbows versus compound versus trad bows versus muzzleloader, land access fights, public land pride versus private land privilege, and my favorite, success shaming. If it's not a mature buck, it doesn't count. Here's the thing. Every one of those categories is legal, ethical hunting. But somewhere along the way, we stopped celebrating the harvest and started policing each other. And maybe that's where we kind of lost it a bit. Because we have to police each other among our ranks when there are illegal activities going on. But that's where it should stop. Here's the thing. It's the same mentality that makes new hunters second guess themselves. They post a photo of their first doe, and the comments are full of people saying, should have let it grow, should have, post a first deer, and everybody wants, it's got milk on its face. That's not a trophy. That's not mentorship. That's ego. We talk all the time about needing new hunters, but when they show up, we eat our own. And from the outside looking in, non-hunters don't see tradition. They see division. And it's easy to spot that on places like social media, here on YouTube, in the podcast world. There's a lot of shows geared directly towards the very analytical things of hunting, and a lot of them aren't. I think we're missing the boat a little bit. I try to stick to. I do what makes me happy. You do what makes you happy, and we'll all be happy together. So, I've shot deer where, we've all done it, where the ground shrinkage, you get up, you're like, man, that was a lot. That's a smaller. Thought it was a doe, turned out to be a button buck. And you kind of feel the pressure not to post anything about it. I kind of let that I wasn't happy. Still ate the same. And no, it's not just traditional versus modern. That's when I realized I was could be hunting for someone else's approval, not my own. So, and that right there, the hunting for approval, that brings us to the next point. The ego problem. Let's talk about ego. Somewhere between the social media algorithms, we turned a quiet, humble tradition into a stage. Hunting used to be about experience, about the experience, the work, the preparation, the respect for the animal. Now it's about content. Social media rewards bragging, not humility, and you can see it. Guys flexing grip and grins like it's a fashion shoot. Posing with products, hashtags for every brand, drone shots over a gut pile. It feels like and I've been there. I think we've all been there. You got to it's a whole media production just to get a picture of a deer. Now, and I'm all for taking the time anymore, and I feel that's another thing that's going to give your ammunition to your anti-hunters. When you harvest a deer, you take the time, or I take the time, to clean it up. It takes a few extra minutes. Wipe the blood off the fur as best you can. Try to clean up any interior exit holes. Try to turn them away from the camera. I want that deer to almost look as lifelike as possible. Tuck a tongue in or cut the tongue out entirely if you can't get it tucked back in. And then take the photograph. The days of, and I remember seeing old Polaroid pictures of a half-skinned deer hanging in the skinning rack. And that was cool for hunters to see. Hunters didn't care. Hunters knew what we were looking at. We're looking at meat in the freezer. We're looking at the final product there. But to post some stuff like that on social media, you're never going to bring people who are truly anti-hunting over to our side of the fence. But the people that sit in the middle, you can push the other direction easily. Social media rewards bragging, not humility. And you can see it. Don't get me wrong. Sharing your success isn't bad, and I think we should. But when the reason you hunt becomes likes and validation, you've already lost touch with what makes it sacred. And I think another thing social media is doing is driving this craze with people poaching deer for Pete's sake and then posting it on social media like a bunch of idiots. Because they feel the need to, like they have to kill that big deer to mean something. If you need the internet to validate your hunt, did you even hunt for the right reason? The biggest trophy isn't what's on your wall. It's in your mindset. So when ego takes over, humility leaves the campfire, and that's where the brotherhood starts to break down. We start seeing other hunters as competition instead of allies, and we start worrying about inches instead of impact. But here's the dangerous part. While we're fighting over who's the real hunter, the people who actually want to end hunting altogether are gaining ground quietly in the background. I saw more fighting with this bear hunt over whether what the anti-hunting committee was doing was legal or not than anything else. And that's where things get serious, because while we're busy fighting the wrong fight, they're changing the rules of the game, and they've done it time and time again. We've spent so much time tearing each other down. Look at it. You got lead ammo bans, which we got a show coming out about that. Not necessarily lead ammo bans entirely, but copper bullets and the effectiveness of copper bullets. It's actually really cool. And I'm all for hunters making the choice to switch. And we talked about that a lot in the show. Really good show coming out here in a couple weeks. Predator hunting restrictions is a big one, which is where we see the bears going away, the wolves going away, all kinds of stuff like that. We don't want to see that. Trapping regulations are being stripped away every single day. Florida's trying to get them back, which would be fantastic, because as it stands right now, you're pretty much limited to using a have-a-heart trap to try and trap raccoons from around your deer feeder. These aren't coming from inside hunting. They're being pushed by people who don't understand the conservation model at all. But instead of showing up unified, hunters stay divided. Now I'll give it to a lot of hunters. A lot of people showed up. Dog hunters showed up big time at those bear meetings. Get bear hunting back on the agenda. And if we can band together like that to constantly push legislation through, we can make huge changes. You got guys out there, when it comes to certain regulations, we'll use trapping as an example, saying, that doesn't affect me. Why do I care? It doesn't affect me. I don't hunt with a rifle. Why do I care if they ban lead ammunition? I only hunt with a bow. Doesn't affect me until it does. Because believe me, I sat there in that bear meeting, and I watched other bear meetings that I couldn't attend, and the anti-hunters want to take your archery equipment away. So Dangleberry says most people who don't get that hunting makes a healthy population of predators will blindly support anything that saves Bambi or Pooh Bear from the mean old hunters. Yeah. There's a bit of Disneyfication of predators that's led to what we see today. That's why wolf reintroduction in Colorado without any input from the people there, the science, they're just crazy stuff going on. There's a lot of people who don't want the wolves. I don't know. Because when one type of hunting gets banned or regulated into extinction, the rest follow right behind it. It's dominoes. The anti-hunting groups aren't out muscling us. They're out organizing us. And they're winning because they're too busy fighting. We're too busy fighting over camo patterns and ethics videos on Instagram. The enemy isn't the hunter using a crossbow. The enemy is apathy and the ego that blinds us to the bigger picture. So how do we fix it? How do we pull things back together before we lose ground? The truth is, every legal, ethical hunter has more in common than we have differences. We've got to keep that in mind. We all wake up early. We all put in the work. And we all feel that heartbeat when something steps out of the bush. And let me tell you, if that ever goes away, I'm done. I am done. If my heart don't start doing that, every time that stupid squirrel matches the cadence just perfect of that buck deer coming through the woods, I'm out. I like to feel as if I've been in the woods long enough that I can sometimes calm myself down. I feel like I can calm myself down when I see a deer and I'm like, I'm going to let that one go. Then I can kind of calm down. But when I know I'm going to take that shot, it's all there is. All I can do is, you can't stop it. It's all part of it. It's beautiful. That's the common thread that matters. I've seen too many people advocate for, if we could just get some regulations that wouldn't allow X, Y, or Z during this part of the year, that would be better. Why? Why are you as a hunter trying to further regulate hunting? That's not what we want to do. We want less regulation, not more regulation. And the crap about car insurance companies, please. They're not having any effect whatsoever on your deer quotas because, believe me, if they wanted to save money, when they want to save money, they'll just deny your claim. They don't care about you. And they don't care about the ethics of paying out your claim either. They're just going to deny a portion, if not all of your claim on a technicality, let alone, why would they spend millions of dollars lobbying states' DNRs to increase harvest numbers? That's the biggest crock of crap I think I've ever heard. But you hear it all the time. Like it doesn't make sense. Typically when you're looking at things like this, the simplest, most common sense answer is probably the right one. People will go far above and beyond to breed some sort of conspiracy theory to make it all make sense. We don't have to agree on everything. Whether you shoot a longbow or a 300 Win Mag, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're keeping the tradition alive. So the next time you're on social media and you see the new guy asking for help, this is another one that bothers me. I'm new to hunting, and I'm just wondering where I should set up. In the woods? In a tree? I get it. But maybe, and don't put it on public information. It doesn't need to be shared right there in the main thread of the forum. Message the guy privately, like, hey man, where are you thinking about hunting at? Do you have a quota wherever you're going? What wildlife management area are you looking at? Maybe you should start by finding one, the closest one to your home. And then you're going to get out and you're going to want to walk. And you're going to look for things like tracks. You're going to look for rubs. You're going to look for scrapes when it's that time of year. My favorite thing to look for is a food source on a trail with tracks going both directions because deer are coming and going from that spot. Those little tips are free chicken. Those are things that They will eventually figure out on their own. And there's a lot of people that say, I figured it out all by myself. Well, buddy, I bet somewhere along the way somebody lent you a hand. And it may not have been on social media, and you may be old enough that social media didn't exist for the majority of the time you grew up learning how to hunt. So you did things like I did, where I gained valuable pieces of information from old men at the check station for the area that I was hunting in. And those old guys were happy to sit there and tell me where to hunt. But guess what? That check station doesn't exist anymore. It's all online now. So they're going to the virtual check station. Be the old man that wants to share just a smidgen of knowledge, something to make them think, something to make them go the extra 100 yards in the woods. And if you never had that, I'm sure you wish you did. So be the change you wish you would have seen when you were doing it. Dangleberry says, the bit of excitement from filling the freezer is all on you. It's one of the biggest parts of the experience, knowing how much work goes into hunting. Imbues respect for the animals. It does. But like I said, that check station I used to go sit at, a lot of them aren't open anymore, especially after COVID. They closed them all down. They went online. They realized it's cheaper. They don't have to have as many volunteers or have to pay people to run these check stations. So now they just do them all online. Those old men don't have a place to sit and gather anymore. The gas stations where the brag boards used to exist, they're all closed down. They were mom and pop got old. They retired, sold the station. Now it's either run by somebody who doesn't care about hunting or it's not there at all anymore. Those local hangout places, the hardware store that used to have the gun counter in the podunk town, it got put out of business by Lowe's and Sportsman's Warehouse. And they don't care about you either. Sportsman's Warehouse cares to sell you a gun, sell you your hunting clothes. That's it. You're never going to go in there and talk to the old man behind the counter, or rarely talk to the old man behind the counter at Sportsman's, and he's going to give you a little bit of hunting advice and some products he may have liked to use at one time and how he uses it and what he's set up and the area. It just doesn't exist anymore. A lot of times you go into these places, these big box stores, and you go to the hunting counter, and you've got somebody who doesn't even know where the products are in the hunting section, let alone anything about hunting. They just work there. Instead of mocking hunters, let's start mentoring them. Instead of mocking other hunters, let's start mentoring them. Instead of posting to show off, post to teach something. Don't just post the success, post the failures. Okay? Social media is all peaks. And it's hard as a new hunter, or as a hunter in particular, man. You ain't seeing nothing. You see guys posting online, dead deer, dead deer, dead deer. You're like, man, they're moving everywhere but where I'm at. I've been there. It sucks. But it's also nice to know there are deer in the woods, I guess. Instead of posting to show off, post to teach something. Instead of gatekeeping, open the door for someone new. Because if we don't stand together, we won't stand at all. You can't protect hunting by tearing down other hunters. So next time you see someone doing it different gear, different weapon, different style, don't tear them down. Thank them for showing up. Because as long as they're hunting ethically and legally, they're on our side. Whether you like it or not. We either rise together or we fall apart. The choice is ours. We don't need to hunt the same way. We just need to fight for the same right. Dangleberry says hunters are voters. If you teach hunting and you make more hunters, you add more hunting voters to the population. You're right. And hunting is a funny thing. It It's a funny thing to spot on the ballot box. It's very rarely very cut and dry. I mean, it was fairly cut and dry this past election season here in Florida with um, supporting Amendment 2 and getting that, our right to hunt and fish on the Florida Constitution, and we did it. So it's hard for me to believe when I look at some of these touted numbers of 88% of Floridians are against the bear hunt when that many people voted to put hunting as a constitutional right. Please, 88% of the people you selected to take your survey were against the bear hunt. And you chose those 88%. And then, some hunter grabbed a hold of your link and started sharing it in some hunting group on Facebook, and we've kind of flooded it a little bit as best we could. But it's not 88% of people in Florida. I would say there's a small percentage of people that care, that are anti-hunting. There's a much larger percentage of people that sit somewhere in the middle, and then there's a small percentage of people that hunt. And our focus needs to be doing the right thing and not creating infighting amongst each other to show the people in the middle that we are together as one, and show them the ethical ways that we hunt. Because we're going to be able to pull people from the people in the middle. They're not neither pro nor anti-hunting, but you can persuade them pro-hunting, whether they hunt or not, as long as they are pro-hunting legislative wise. That's all we need. And then maybe one day you're going to come out and go on a squirrel hunt or go on a deer hunt or something like that. Dangleberry says, if you want to understand statistics, look at who funded the study behind. Yeah, right. Who funded the study? Well, that's all I got for this week. Do something as we move forward from here until next week. Next time you see something on social media, I challenge you to look at that and do something positive for hunting. Call out the guys when you see them on social media. Call out the hunters you see picking at people for doing something legal. They're free to share their opinion. They're also free to just keep it to them damn selves. Doesn't make you a bigger man to sit behind a keyboard and say, I don't like the way you shot a 6-point. You should have let him have another year. Who cares? For Pete's sake, all these guys there should have let it go another year. Watching 7, 8, 10 does walk in a season in an area would do better. You're doing less damage by shooting that little 6-point than you are by letting all those does walk. For Pete's sake, go shoot a few does. Do something good for the quality of your herd. We need them to make more bucks, but they're also eating all the forage. They're mowing it down. You want bigger bucks? You need less does. It takes nutrition to grow antlers. And the more deer you got eating it, the smaller them antlers are, man. Shoot a doe, grow a bigger buck. Quit dogging on people on social media. Take a new hunter under your wing. Teach him a little something. And put in for your redraws. We'll catch y'all next week.